This didn't start like a sale. It started with silence. A silence in back offices, on factory floors, and across auction lanes. Then a cracking sound as the old rules finally gave way. For years, the sticker ran the show. Buyers argued around the edges, and dealers smiled politely while holding their ground. Now the ground itself is moving. The lot looks the same, rows of chrome, paint shimmering in the sun. But the mood is different. What felt like stone is clay. What sounded confident is suddenly careful. You can feel it in the way a manager leans forward when you mention your number. You can see it in the way discounts appear, not because you begged, but because the clock is eating the balance sheet. Trucks that once strutted with untouchable price tags are now listening. Not every unit, not every zip code, but enough to tell anyone paying attention that the game flipped. The question isn't whether there are deals. It's whether you'll recognize the window and move before it closes. The old sales playbook assumed you'd tolerate the dance. MSRP, add-ons, a trade-in whittled by a market adjustment, and a monthly note softened by clever math. That script works when inventory feels scarce and buyers feel nervous. The script fails when buyers aren't nervous anymore, when the market itself is. If you've ever wanted to walk into a showroom feeling like the one holding the pen, this is the moment. But first, understand how a beautiful truck becomes a bad liability the longer it sits, and why that turns your quiet offer into the loudest sound on the lot. A gleaming truck is a pride to the eye, but pressure to the ledger. Every unsold unit is a loan accruing interest. Floor plan financing, the bloodstream of new car retail. When rates were ultra low and cars moved the same week they landed, carrying costs were background noise. When inventory stacks and days to turn stretch, interest becomes a metronome of pain. That meter doesn't care how clean the paint is or how perfect the spec sheet looks. It counts every sunrise the truck doesn't leave on a buyer's plate. Managers live with that drumbeat. They memorize which VINs are aging out, which colors won't move, which trims were heroes 6 months ago and anchors today. Somewhere between week 8 and week 12 of sitting, a truck stops being a product and starts being a problem. Here's what that means for you. The sticker price is a story. The aging report is the truth. You don't argue with stories. You negotiate with truth. If a manager is staring at a row of trucks clocking interest by the day, your offer isn't an insult. It's a release. It clears a unit. It frees cash. It stops the bleeding line on a spreadsheet that is seen by people whose bonuses live or die on how many of those lines turn green. This is why numbers that would have gotten you laughed out of the building 2 years ago now get a breakfast meeting call back. Not because anyone got nicer, because the math got meaner. And the math will get meaner still when something else cracks. Trust. Nothing cuts value like doubt. Not a $1,000 rebate. Not a holiday promo. Doubt slashes deeper and faster because it jumps from head to head in a single headline. A probe here, a recall there, a viral thread about lifters, cams, or sensor failures, and suddenly the showroom smells like risk. Most families don't analyze service bulletins or decode engineering memos. They see engine trouble. They imagine a driveway gone quiet, and they wait. That pause is deadly to momentum, and momentum is oxygen in retail. What happens next is short and brutal. Trucks connected to the story get quarantined or corrected. Trucks that were never touched by the issue still wear suspicion on their badge. The public doesn't track batch codes or build dates. They track feelings. Dealers know this. They know a spooked shopper demands a thicker cushion. They know a brand under a cloud pays for sins evenly, unfairly, and relentlessly. So managers sharpen pencils, numbers soften, discounts fatten. Trade-ins get cautious appraisals because nobody wants to be the one holding the bag if a rumor shifts into a mandate. The meltdown isn't uniform. Nothing in this business is. But reputation shocks don't need to hit every unit to destroy the vibe. It only takes one ugly headline to drain the showroom of confidence and send the serious deals backstage, where whispers happen and keys change hands quietly. If you can keep your cool while everyone else gets nervous, you'll name your price more often than you think. But the biggest tell doesn't arrive in a newspaper. It arrives in a factory. Factories never admit fear out loud. They talk in words like optimization, alignment, and modulation. But silence has a sound. When a line pauses, you can hear it in the parking lot. You can hear it in the town. Overtime vanishes, lunch rushes shrink, parts suppliers loosen their belts, and circle numbers in red. Nobody who's been around the block believes a long pause is a tune-up. It's a brake job on reality. Production outran appetite. Inventory outran demand. Stock that was supposed to glide off transports and into driveways stopped gliding. The most honest message a manufacturer sends the market is a quiet conveyor. It says, "We misread the room." It says, "We built too many." It says, "We'd rather take the hit on volume than drown our dealers." For shoppers, the hush is a siren. It tells you the supply side is bending rather than breaking the retail channel. It tells you that somewhere between the plant and the showroom floor, someone will absorb the pain. That someone is usually the dealer first, through incentives, holdback give-ups, or pricing moves they wouldn't have touched when the line was roaring. Communities feel the punch as shifts get trimmed. Families feel it as paychecks thin. This isn't academic. Trucks are culture and livelihood in entire zip codes. When that heartbeat slows, everyone listens. For you, fewer trucks rolling in doesn't always mean higher prices. It often means urgency to clear the ones already sitting, and the gravity gets written down in the single place where feelings become numbers: the auction. Retail pricing is theater, wholesale is court. Under the glare of the auction block, no one argues with an ad. Steel meets bids, and the hammer tells the truth. If 3 near-new trucks roll across and slip a few grand below last month's number, that's it. The line moves. Mannheim prints tick down. Black Book nudges edits. And by the time you walk into your local dealer for an appraisal, you're meeting a new reality they met last Wednesday. Customers take it personally. Dealers can't afford to. A comp is a comp, and comps cascade. If a fleet offloads dozens of similar trims in 1 week, the average falls, and your meticulously maintained truck falls with it, fair or not. That's the part that feels like a trick. A graph somewhere dips and your equity evaporates. It's not malice, it's momentum. Here's how you counter it. Do not accept the first trade-in number without testing it. Ask for appraisals from multiple rooftops. Get a written number from a buying service. Reference recent wholesale action without turning it into a lecture. I'm tracking last week's lanes, and it looks like this trim's softened. Help me understand the delta. You're not accusing, you're calibrating. Then separate your transactions. Negotiate the new truck's sale price first, trade second, a financing last. Bundling is how the system protects its margins. Unbundling is how you protect yours. If the appraisal feels light and the sale price won't budge further, say thank you and leave your number. Someone will call, because the pressure doesn't just come from wholesale charts. It comes from the slow death of a quiet subsidy most shoppers never saw. For a stretch, leases felt like magic. Captive finance arms could route certain credits through lease structures, and payments landed softer than the raw numbers suggested. It wasn't smoke and mirrors, it was policy and timing. But cushions are seasonal. When those credits fade or expire, payments stand on their own. Suddenly, the identical truck with the identical MSRP costs more per month than your cousin bragged about last year. The buyer thinks, the dealer is gaming me. The real story is simpler. A back-end pillow disappeared. In a market already wobbling from confidence hits and auction resets, losing a subsidy turns negotiable into necessary. It's one more reason managers need aged units gone now, not next quarter. You don't need to argue policy to benefit from the shift. You just need to understand that the payment on the screen isn't disrespect. It's gravity without training wheels, which is why your greatest leverage isn't a clever one-liner. It's a plan. Start with timing. End of month matters. End of quarter matters more. When bonus thresholds hang by 1 or 2 VINs, no turns expensive. Show up on a rainy weekday afternoon when foot traffic is low and urgency is high. Don't chase MSRP or brag about being under sticker. Negotiate the out-the-door number. Sale price, taxes, tags, dock fees, add-ons, everything. If they want to talk monthly payment, bring it back to OTD. I'm focused on the total. Let's land there first. Walk in with competing written quotes. Screenshots count. Make sure they're apples to apples on trim, engine, drive, and options. If they aren't, normalize them yourself. Here's the delta for the package I don't need. Match the equipment and match the number. Bring a down payment if you can. Even a few thousand lowers the dealer's risk on financing and makes a skinny deal survivable. Ask to see the oldest unit that matches your build. Age equals softness. A hard-to-move color can be your best friend if you're flexible. Treat the trade-in as a separate meeting. Don't let the desk hide a light appraisal under a shiny sale price. Get 2 outside appraisals and place them on the desk. You're not threatening. You're anchoring. If the store is truly buried in your exact trim, if you can see 4 copies on the row with dust on the caps, raise the idea of a we owe for accessories or service credits when the price itself hits bedrock. Sometimes labor is easier to give than dollars. And then learn the most valuable habit in car buying: walking away clean. Not dramatic, not huffy, just done. Leave your number. The building isn't insulted. It's interesting. When the month ends and the desk needs 2 more units, your number goes from too low to let's revisit. You've seen images of top trim pickups that once grazed 80 grand selling for a number that looks like a typo in the 20s. Outliers make great content because they shock. But building a plan on anomalies is how people get disappointed. The repeatable reality is less flashy and far more profitable. Tens of thousands shaved off certain configurations when inventory, age, and mood line up. The cleanest deals happen at the intersection of 3 truths: a manager who needs a win now, a unit that's been ignored, and a buyer who knows how to stack leverage without turning the table into a debate club. Don't let ego cost you 4 figures. If the store won't cross your line, cool. Another store will, or the same store will, tomorrow. Markets don't move in speeches. They move in whispers, like the whisper that the auction just dropped your trim $200 this week. In a business that lives on thin lines, 200 isn't 200. It's the excuse a desk needs to say yes. There's also the prestige problem. For a decade, full-size pickups were the one segment where luxury pricing felt normal. Massaging seats, panoramic roofs, layered tech stacks. Trucks turned into rolling penthouses. That worked when rates were low and gas felt cheap. Now the buyer looks at the payment and flinches. Prestige loses its edge when groceries cost more. Insurance ramps up, and commute miles punish the wallet. Feature fatigue sets in. What used to be irresistible is now, how much am I paying to heat a steering wheel? That shift doesn't just nudge prices down, it rewires what shoppers even ask for. Work-leaning trims come back into focus. Mid-trims become the sweet spot. That's not a collapse of desire. It's a correction of appetite. And appetite decides everything. Every assembly line is a heartbeat. When it stutters, towns feel the chill first. The diner by the plant watches its lunch crowd thin. The machine shop trims, shifts. The delivery driver sits on a slower route. This is the human side of a market story that social feeds turn into drama and spreadsheets translate into trends. It's not abstract. It's a mortgage payment. It's a little league fee. It's a holiday trip postponed. For the people building the trucks, a production pause isn't an interesting headline. It's a gut punch. For the people buying the trucks, that same pause can be an opportunity, an uncomfortable truth the market always carries. Someone pays, someone saves. You can do both with decency. If the deal is right, take it. If it's wrong, walk. No one loses when a bad fit ends in a handshake. The macro noise, tariffs, trade spats, emissions rules tweaked in a midnight vote can swing costs, timing, and available trims. Those are dice rolls outside your control. What you can control is timing, research, and patience. Watch inventories, not commercials. Watch weekly wholesale notes, not weekend billboards. Watch the reputation weather, those confidence stories that spook buyers and elicit discounts. The pattern doesn't stay open forever. Factories idle and restart. Managers get relief and regain their swagger. Auction lines bounce a few points in one direction and confidence returns. The window always narrows. Use it while it's wide. Keep this simple, sharp, and in front of you when you shop. Pick your moment. End of month, end quarter, rainy weekdays. Negotiate OTD only. Price plus taxes plus fees plus add-ons equals one number. Stack quotes. Minimum 3 rooftops. Same trim, written. Hunt age. Ask for the oldest VIN matching your build. Dust is a discount. Split the deal. Sale price first, trade second, finance last. Cite the market without lecturing. Last week's wholesale softened on this trim. Use small leverage. Even a modest down payment can open a closed door. Walk away clean. The month's clock turns no into call me back. America's love for trucks didn't vanish. The payment tolerance did. The boast factor cooled. The market rediscovered the line between want and can. Call this a collapse if you need to feel the drama. It's really a reset. A reset of what people will pay for comfort versus capability. A reset of what dealers can ask when their own costs won't stop ticking. A reset of how manufacturers pace the line when demand gets high. You're not arriving at the funeral of trucks. You're arriving at the funeral of the old pricing script. So use the quiet. Use the headlines. Use the graphs you never see on a billboard. If you've got a story about a wild quote, year, trim, sticker, and the OTD number you wrestled it to, drop it below. Somebody in a different zip code will save a month's rent because you shared one screenshot. If you want a weekly 2-minute pulse on auction drift, inventory pockets, and the trims that go soft before the ads admit it, hit subscribe. You don't need 100 levers to win this market. You need 3: timing, truth, and the ability to walk. The best time to buy a truck was before the world discovered markups. The second best time is when the lot is heavy, the factory is cautious, and the auction is speaking in lower numbers. That's today in more places than the ads will ever confess. You don't have to chase unicorn screenshots to get a deal that makes your neighbors shake their heads. You have to be patient, prepared, and a little bit stubborn. Ask for the unit that's been waiting for a home. Put 3 quotes on one screen. Say your number once, clearly, and don't apologize for it. If it's a no, smile, stand up, and let the end-of-month clock call you back. In a market that used to make you beg, that click of your car door as you leave is the loudest sound they'll hear all day. Trucks aren't going anywhere. Prices are. And if you've been paying attention, they're going the one direction that finally makes sense for the person who has to live with the payment. The empire didn't vanish. It just learned to listen. That's your advantage. Use it before the line starts humming again and the confidence returns. Because the second the auction bounces and the headlines fade, the smiles get tighter, the pens move more slowly, and the numbers recover their nerve. Until then, the road is yours. Drive it like you mean it. Pick 3 dealers within a 2-hour drive. Configure the same trim on each site. Send a short email that asks for the OTD with taxes and fees, no add-ons, and an end-of-month pickup. Ask who will appraise your trade site unseen from photos and a VIN. Get 2 third-party offers to anchor the trade. Check this week's movement on your trim and wholesale reports summarized by reputable sources. Walk in with that packet, not a speech. If they balk, thank them and head for the door. Keep your phone loud for the call that starts with, "If I could do this number today." That's your cue. Finish strong. Sign only what you understand. No mystery add-ons. No market adjustments with cute names. If they appear, cross them out or cross the store off your list. You're not the mark anymore. You're the market. If this helped, drop a quick comment with your zip code and what you're seeing on the ground. The industry learns slowly. Buyers learn fast. The ones who share move first, and the ones who move first win.